I love Kyra. Now eat my cold steel, you traveling bitch.
Remember when we first met John McClane? Argyle picked him up from the plane and took him down the Nakatomi Tower at the Christmas party. And the terrorists were overzealous, but it was sweet when they killed Ellis. And with a little help from Alan, John McClane kicked ass.
Welcome back to Shat The Movies, the podcast where we answer the question, were the movies we loved when we were growing up really that good? Have you ever caught yourself thinking, why don't they make movies like they used to? Can you still remember spending your Friday night searching for the perfect movie rental at Blockbuster Video? Do you know what Blockbuster Video is? If you answered yes, then this is the podcast for you. I am one of your hosts, Gene Lyons, and alongside me is my co-host, Big D, Dick Ebert.
Good evening.
Each week, we take a look back in time, decide if our favorite films still hold up. The movies we cover are chosen by you, the listeners, who generously commission the films you love. If you'd like to see all the movies we have covered, will cover, or want to choose one for yourself, please visit shatpod.com and have a look. At the end of each podcast, we'll provide you, the audience, with the number of wipes each movie we take to get off your respective butts. So thank you so much for listening. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button and share with a friend. It's how we help the podcast grow. Additionally, subscribe to our sister podcast, Shat on TV, where we review TV series such as Westworld, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, True Detective, Lovecraft Country, and Watchmen. Find all that information and past episodes at shatpod.com/TV. And finally, if you'd like to hang out with us live, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, and that's Shat The Movies on YouTube, where we play video games, host watch parties, and edit this podcast live. All that being said, Big D, what movie are we reviewing today?
So, Gene, each week when we get our commissioner's letter and we talk about the movie and who's commissioned it, we're thankful of their support of the podcast. Then there's a different tier. There's the supporter who supports us, but then also supports other supporters and is very philanthropic. And Emmet C., who commissioned this week's film, I want to shout out Emmet, because Emmet is not only a great listener, but a great person, has commissioned one of my favorite movies and was a life-changing, to get in touch with my inner Sandy, LA Stories, then supported other listeners. Vacation was commissioned for Tom. Then also Nightmare Before Christmas, Emmet commissioned for Riley from Belfast. Also commissioned The Seventh Sign. So Emmet's been there for us, great listener, and I was glad Emmet came back for this week's. It's an interesting one, 1999 fantasy film loosely based on a poem, Beowulf.
And Emmett's a real gambler, just rolling the dice.
Yeah.
He says, I've never seen this movie. It looks ridiculous and fun and based on Greek mythology, which we all had to read in high school. It's billed as a Mortal Kombat-style movie, but I'm really hoping it has the cheese of Army of Darkness. Here's to the watch party and review. Thanks for all you do, Shat Crew. Cheers from Emmet in Orange.
I love Emmett's approach. This is like the gumball machine in the supermarket. You throw your quarter in, you don't know what's going to come out.
It's like if you went to a tattoo parlor in New Orleans and told them, I don't know what I want, and they just made you a ghost coming out of a coffin.
Or a fish.
Or a fish.
Yeah.
Well, Beowulf is a 1999 fantasy film loosely based on the epic poem of the same name. Unlike most film adaptations of the poem, this version incorporates post-apocalyptic science fiction elements. Critical reaction to the film was highly negative, pointing out the weak script, below average acting, corny dialogue, deviations from the source material, and an over-reliance on camp. So, Big D, neither of us have seen this movie prior, but I did want to know if you have any memories related to this movie.
No, I never even knew this existed, other than the trailers for the 2007 Robert Zemeckis, the animated, it was like Angelina Jolie and then also another naked character looking very sexual. And it has a weird star-studded cast as they're going through. I went back and watched it. They're like Angelina Jolie, Crispin Glover, Robin Wright, John Malkovich, Anthony Hopkins I was like, holy shit, this is going to be something glorious. No, this was completely different. I went in completely blind. And this was an experience that I'm glad Emmet rolled the dice.
Yeah, I'm the same as you. I had seen several adaptations of Beowulf, but the 1999 version slipped right under my radar. I'd never heard of this. I didn't know Christopher Lambert did a Beowulf. And when I read this description and heard it was post-apocalyptic, I was expecting something very futuristic, like a Mad Max or a Blade Runner. Nothing could prepare me for that Mortal Kombat meets Krull adventure I was about to witness.
And Gene, before we get to the trailer, normally I don't listen to the trailers until we're editing and I download them, put them in. This one I went and listened to, and there's a little nugget I got from it at the end. They're trying to make it a very dramatic trailer. They say, starring Christopher Lambert. And I'm like, Lambert? I'm like, is this the European trailer, or have we been butchering his name? Or has he now have the gravitas of Christopher Lambert?
It's the creamier Christopher Lambert with a bit of rind on it. Let's hit the trailer.
In the future lies a fortress at the edge of darkness. The enemy is at the gate, but the real terror is within. A man more than mortal, born half of heaven and half of hell, is their only salvation.
No sane man would come here to face this thing.
I'm not like other men.
That you will have to prove. You can sense it. You can feel it.
Christopher Lambert is...
You should be dead.
Many times.
Beowulf.
A castle-like outpost comes under attack by a creature named Grendel on a nightly basis, but it refuses to attack the border lord Hrothgar. One of the outpost's residents, Pendra, escapes, but is captured by a rival siege line who intend to kill her to prevent the outpost's evil from spreading. Pendra is saved by a mysterious warrior named Beowulf and rides with him. When she realizes Beowulf is riding for the outpost, she runs back to the siege line and is immediately killed.
So I'm going to take the approach that a lot of our listeners are coming from the angle I did. I did not even know that this was a poem, that the source material. So I'm going to lay it out, the simple facts about the poem Beowulf. It's an Old English epic poem. They don't know who the author is. It is the oldest surviving English language epic. The poem's about a superhero, obviously, named Beowulf. He fights monsters. He fights a dragon. And it's claimed in literature, you're going to have to tell me if this is true or not. This is the most famous and influential work because of its story's theme of heroism, fate, loyalty, and the struggles between good and evil. Is that true?
Yeah, that is accurate. Now, I can't offer the sort of literary critique and expertise that Ash does, but from what I understand of the literature courses I've taken and the themes that are presented in Beowulf, it is echoed through stuff even into modern times and is very influential in its sphere.
The reviews said that it strays from the source material. I think the source material is very vague. It's like an outline of the basic hero's journey. I see Beowulf in most of the movies that we do. I don't think I could get upset. It's a framework to make something that looks cool.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that. I think we can agree that sometimes trying to stay too close to the source material makes for a really bad movie. I mean, we've seen that in the movies that we've covered. When they nail it, when it's just like the book, it's usually pretty bad. Imagine Lord of the Rings, right? If you've ever read Lord of the Rings front to back, you get like a ton of descriptions of somebody's hair or a tree. And then they say like, oh yeah, and also this battle happened. In the movie versions of Lord of the Rings that they made, they strayed from the source material and elaborated a lot. If they lifted straight from the pages, we would have 2 hours of a song about a guy's shield, and then there'd be like a 15-second flashback of a battle. So sometimes when you are doing a film, you have to recognize that it's very different from poetry. They're two incredibly different media, and therefore you might not want to watch a line-by-line recreation of the poem Beowulf.
No, I don't think. And watching the trailer, it made me question whether I was going to want to watch this film. And you and I were both scared because we're reviewing this around the same time as Airplane. We were both excited for Airplane and dreading this. Folks, this is a 0 on Rotten Tomato. I don't think we've had a 0 before. It's a 0 for 8. This is a rotten score. And when it opens, the opening credits did not build any kind of expectation that it looks like a direct to video. The graphics are terrible. It makes Mortal Kombat Annihilation look like it's quality. I was scared. And then it immediately starts to give me some relief. The dread starts to pass. I see most things are practical effects. There's real world sets. The CGI is just for the intro and that there's going to be a monster later. But to be honest, I thought the art direction and the design in this, it looked pretty good. The costumes, the props, the sets, it looked quality. Somebody had made an effort. There was money put into it. And this was going to be much better than I expected it to be.
Based on the opening credits, if you would have told me this was just a sequel to Mortal Kombat, I would have believed you, because it's got like that spinning logo, the lightning effect, that techno music. And then you're right, Big D, the movie actually opens, and the costumes and set design, they're not exactly breathtaking, but they are very good. And let's not forget, like, this movie came out around the same time as The Matrix, right? So that's the standard we should be looking at for movies of the late 90s. It's not bad. There's some really cool weapons. There's some really cool armor, other than the helmet that Hrothgar is wearing in the opening confrontation with the invisible Grendel. He's got this like Destiny 2 style helmet with like no eye holes, no mesh for him to see out of. It's solid steel. And he removes it. He's like, I can't see it. And I dropped my notepad. I was laughing so fucking hard. Yeah, you've got a solid steel helmet.
And then he just yanks it off.
Oh, there it is.
A lot of the design doesn't make sense. So we're not saying this is, normally I want things to be grounded, to make, strategic sense, literal sense. Things in here are like a child's nightmare. They're going to chop off this runaway, like, slave girl or whatever, townsgirl. It looks like a giant straight razor scaled up comedically that's just going to fall on you.
My all-time favorite weapon of this movie was the pizza cutter on like a 6-foot pole.
Comically large. They don't make any sense. And when we meet Beowulf, there's been this like farm girl who's escaped from the siege in the castle. Again, they beat the living shit out of her. Just them abusing her takes much longer than I would have expected they would have given it.
As soon as the guys get a hold of her, they're just like they're modifying her costume, not stripping her naked. They're just like, we're going to see a little garter, we're going to see a little more cleavage. All right, there we go. Now you can be executed.
So they're beating the living shit out of her, and here comes old ass Christopher Lambert on his horse. He comes out
not that old.
I don't want to look it up, but I bet you he's near my age at this point. But whatever, he's not a spring chicken. So he comes out of the woods. He's on his horse. He is surrounded by just like Jon Snow in Battle of the Bastards. He's surrounded, but yet he's fighting these people off because he's got like MacGyver weapons. Every one of his weapons, it reminds me of who's a vampire hunter? Van Helsing?
Van Helsing, yeah.
Wasn't there one done with Hugh Jackman or like an actor where everything had like a switch and a lever and a blade within a blade? That's what he pulls out.
Yeah, it's a whole genre. That Van Helsing, Brothers Grimm did the same thing where they had like futuristic weapons, but in an old fantasy setting.
His, though, I don't think he really thought them out, because a lot of them have switches and shit that either don't do anything. I don't know, but somehow he fights off this horde of like 200 guys. And I guess we're supposed to know that he's bad because this dude can do backflips. Backflips.
God damn, does this guy like to flip? Like 50% of this movie's budget was just paying a guy to do flips. I definitely got that same James Bond gadget vibe from Beowulf. And I can't help but think that this movie influenced or perhaps even invented that genre that you were talking about, Big D. Hugh Jackman's Van Helsing, the ill-fated Brothers Grimm, like these movies are all kind of hearkening back oddly to Beowulf. And as cheesy as that style of movie is, I have to admit, there is a charm to seeing the gadget. You wonder what it does, and then you watch the hero use it to smoke a wave of bad guys. I will never get tired of that formula.
No, it is fun. It's wild and fun, but it's not what I expected from my epic Old English poem.
The best one was the grappling hook that he throws with a rope attached to it, only so he can facilitate a flip.
But not Gene, hold on. I don't want to, the handle on this like spinning melee weapon is maybe 7 inches. He drops out the chain and balls, which are like another 4 inches. So he looks like a child swinging a noisemaker, like wah, 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 wah. So I'm like, you got to scale that up, buddy.
We should emphasize that this is also on horseback, so this weapon is a good 12 feet from any actual enemy, yet somehow it manages to grab a guy off of his horse.
And they all have spears.
Yeah.
All these guys have like 10-foot spears.
Well, Beowulf meets Hrothgar and is permitted to stay to help slay the beast. Hrothgar, his daughter Kyra, and his military leader Roland suspect that Beowulf was sent by a rival family to avenge the death of their son Nivri, Kyra's former husband. However, Kyra's suspicions dissipate when she realizes that Beowulf can sense evil. For a few nights, Hrothgar experiences nightmares triggered by a succubus about his late wife's suicide.
So, Gene, in the description, you mentioned that this was marketed as like a post-apocalyptic future story based on the 8th century Saxon epic poem. It's about monsters, battling in a medieval castle. And the premise is cool. Let's make it modern. It's a new telling. It sounds cool. The concept sounds like, you have Christopher Lambert. How could you go wrong? But the execution is bizarre. Like, you know how Waterworld went a little off the rails, where you're like, okay, they're driving around a tanker with oil, then they're having jet skis, wasting fuel. Here, the castle looks like a giant offshore oil rig. Don't know why. I know it's post-apocalyptic, so the warriors have gas masks, but they don't wear them. They're kind of into their costume. Roland, who we'll meet, who's like the Jaime Lannister, he's got this long leather penis-shaped codpiece with a shiny silver head, which I could not stop looking at. You talked about the all like solid helmet with no eyes. There's also RoboCop type helmets. One of the guy looks like, what's his name? The blind guy from Star Trek.
Geordie LaForge.
Yeah, he looks like Geordie LaForge. Some look like Daft Punk. It is really strange because the quality of the props looks like somebody tried to have fun and it looks very 80s and 90s. But the cast, it looks like they're in our modern day. Like they went to the mall with a bus. Said 50 guys and girls, come here, age group, let's go 20 to 35. Everybody just get into the bus. They drove to set, gave hair and makeup 5 minutes, put them in costumes, and they're on the set. This is the opposite of Name of the Rose, where everybody looked weird, strange, and time appropriate. These guys look like a Renfest cosplay group straight off the bus.
I think that's what they were going for, though. Like, think of how entertaining A Knight's Tale was, specifically because it was anachronistic. Like those dance scenes, the way that Heath Ledger was able to interact with their characters, it was because it was anachronistic. And the mixed time periods also allows for really flexible vernacular. We talked in previous episodes about how scripting and dialogue has to be true to the characters and where they come from. And if you give them sort of this mishmash of times, this anachronistic pool to play with, they can say whatever they want and do whatever they want, and it still adds up. Sometimes they're talking like it's 1452. Sometimes they're talking like it's 1992. I felt like it kept things loose and not too serious, because if you had all this crazy gadgetry and dumb shit going on, but everybody was talking like it was Shakespeare, we'd have an issue.
So I think that's my problem. I've not seen A Knight's Tale.
Oh, it's good. Somebody commission it.
So that would make sense, because there's a character named Will. Will's uncle is the armor, and Will, it's as if he is from a different movie entirely. I don't want to say that he's like talking, that he has like, he's like, I don't want to die. Oh no! What? Like it was. I might want to say he's ghetto. I don't want to cut that. I want to say like he was like an urban influence, an intentional.
He's trying not to say the word black.
Fine. Yes, he was like Chris. He was like
character.
It was like you said. We need Chris Tucker. Let's get him in there. And he's like, "Damn, that's a monster. I don't want him to. Oh no, that weapon ain't gonna work." That's what he was like.
There were a couple different times in the movie where people just said it straight up. Said, "This is bullshit."
Yeah, hell no. Hell shit. What is that over there? I don't want to die. Oh no. I'm like, what movie is he from?
And although I think the anachronisms worked, I think the one that didn't work was the music. So we mentioned kind of in the opening, we had that like Mortal Kombat-style credit scene. And much like the aforementioned Mortal Kombat series, which Lambert actually ditched to make Beowulf, he didn't do the following movie because he wanted to do Beowulf. That's why we got that other guy. This movie goes hard. It goes hard in the late 90s techno department. And admittedly, that is an improvement over like lutes and bagpipes, I guess. And they also did this, the good, the bad, and the ugly thing. When Beowulf first shows up at the siege line and you're getting like, he's Clint Eastwood or some shit on his horse. But I got to point out that 1999 was a great time to feature some current artists on the soundtrack. And they really could have done it well. I mean, imagine this movie with all the fight scenes with Nine Inch Nails, Ministry, Marilyn Manson, Prick, or even Grendel. It could have been incredible.
Oh, it would have been so much better. That's one of the major weaknesses of the soundtrack. You keep saying techno. This is if the producers had said, let's Google, okay, because Google was around at that point. Let's Google royalty-free techno, fight music, and this is what they got. Because it is a direct knockoff, but a clear tier below what we got in Mortal Kombat. So it's like there's police sirens, there's sounds of screeching car tires in the music. It's awful. And I'm wishing for some good, hard-hitting music because that would make it great. So at this point, Gene, we're going to meet another one of the key characters. Beowulf's entered the castle or the oil rig. And he's introduced in passing to Hrothgar's daughter, Kira, who wants to fight, but she's going to be put safe with the women and children. And when I say in passing, I mean like a well-lit, shadowed shot that focuses on her steampunk, post-apocalyptic corset with the most beautiful breasts that we have seen in Shat the Movies in at least 8 months, I'd say. I don't know. I can't go any of that. And over again, the camera just focuses. I could picture like Stanley Kubrick setting the light for The Shining on her breasts over and over. She's like she's going to a club in West Hollywood. She's not in a castle fighting for her life against a demon. She is straight out of either an S&M catalog, going out, but she looks great. Those breasts are great.
I think Kyra is going to be unthroned as the Shat the Movies boobs leader in about a week when we do Airplane, because the surprise boobs in Airplane are phenomenal. But we really should talk about how quality this supporting cast is, not just their tits. Like Rhona Mitra, who plays Kyra, she delivers some pretty groan-worthy dialogue. The critics are not wrong. Like, the script is bad, but she delivers it with utmost sincerity, and somehow she makes it work.
The dialogue is groan inducing. It makes me sick to watch her become romantically attracted to Christopher Lambert and try to say, my magic drew you here. But she's trying, dude. She's making an honest effort. You got to give her something for that.
But the Academy Award should go to Oliver Cotton. He acted his ass off as Hrothgar. I felt like I was watching two different movies. Everyone else was out there making a low-budget sci-fi movie. This guy, he was out there doing Shakespeare in the Park. I mean, just a brilliant dramatic performance.
You could see her. She was dying inside saying these words, Gene. When the life force is coming out of an actor's eyes, I'll give them a pass.
Okay, so you're handicapping the performance based on Lambert, the Lambert effect.
Yeah, I'm giving it. I'm just that she's like, this is the end of my career or the beginning. I don't know. Just say the lines. This could be good. It could be like her life is flashing before her eyes, and I'm seeing it leak out of every pore in her skin.
My magic is strong tonight.
It is.
And we'd be remiss if we didn't also give a shout out to the succubus in this movie. Kudos to Beowulf for getting the succubus right. All too often, the succubus is depicted as a demonic, horned, winged, like bedtime creep. But Beowulf takes it in a totally different direction, because if you think about it, what is a succubus? It's a seductive, dreamlike creature who puts a man in a trance and often makes him feel good in exchange for something. It's a dream. It's a seductive, demonic dream. If you think about it, the closest thing we have to a succubus in real life is strippers. And when you think of strippers who make the most money at the club, they look like Beowulf's version of the big bad, right? A blonde Britney Spears knockoff with fake boobs, loads of makeup. I think this is a genius move, because you understand why these guys are like, I probably shouldn't, but also, yeah.
No, this is a straight out of like a White Snake video. Yeah. Like, she looks like a vixen.
Like crimped hair, yeah.
So Gene, I had to do some research, because I was like, she has to have been in videos, whatever. Her name was Layla Roberts. She was in another film that we've done, Gene, in Armageddon.
Okay. Is she a stripper?
There you go. Bingo. Ah! She is the stripper who rides Steve Buscemi, and he says, hey, we're astronauts, baby. And she goes, ooh, astronautas. That's her.
God bless you, Layla Roberts.
She's born for this role. She kills it.
When the Grendel attacks during the day, Beowulf and Hrothgar's remaining soldiers are forced to confront it. Women and children evacuate, but are immediately slaughtered by the Grendel. Beowulf and Grendel fight and wound one another, and as Kyra attends to Beowulf, Roland confesses his unrequited romantic feelings for her. After Beowulf recovers, Kyra reveals that Knavery was an abusive spouse and she killed him after he attempted to force himself on her. Beowulf believes she was justified. He faces Grendel again and severs its arm. Believing Grendel to be dead, the survivors celebrate, and Roland is visited again by the succubus. Right now, I'm going to add a wipe for the egregious use of plot armor in this movie. Big D, you mentioned the horse with the spears. Certain characters in this movie just seem to be off limits when it comes to dying. And I'm not just talking about the Grendel giving away the mystery by repeatedly refusing to kill Hrothgar. Not you. Beowulf is surrounded by enemies on his horse, but they're not allowed to touch the horse. Every time the Grendel attacks, it immediately takes the extras and like shreds their faces off. It's punching holes in their chests. But when it comes to main characters like Roland or Hrothgar or Beowulf, suddenly the Grendel decides to just punch them like it's the Octolus in Deep Rising. And I get it. Like, I get that you can't have the main characters just die off haphazardly. They need to live for dramatic effect. But I feel like the least they could do is have those characters survive by skill. I mean, they're supposed to be very skilled fighters or by luck, not the monster just being nice to them.
I wish that Hrothgar had used this plot armor and the actual literal protection that he would not be attacked. Get everybody behind him. Hey, use me as a human shield. Let's attack. He will not come after me. You have to optimize every advantage you have. And just thankfully, Gene, we did not get a good, clear shot of the monster. They obscure it. They do what we always say. If you can't show a quality like Jaws, hint at it. A blur, it's up in the rafters, it's a smoke thing, whatever. I'll do that. That's fine. But Gene, they've been making bad strategic choices throughout the entire movie. Every night, you know it's coming. So why are you treating this like a hotel? Beowulf shows up and like, oh, okay, let's see. We have an empty room. Let's go up there to the 4th floor. Yeah, okay. Everybody, we're going to have dinner in about 2 hours. Let's go all hang out. Why aren't they treating this like a threat? Even Kevin McAllister, when he's cooking his TV dinner at his table, he knows, hey, 9 o'clock, got to get ready, set up the machine, set up my traps because I know the wet bandits are coming. Here, they don't do anything. And then finally, once Beowulf injures the beast, comes back with the arm, we see the beast run off. Why are they assuming now it's dead? They come out, they hang up the arm. Oh, let's go down and open the wine cellars. The dudes holding the siege say, from like a little telescope, oh, that's an arm. Yeah, okay, well, the siege is over. Everybody go home. How do you know that's not just a decoy? That's just something they made to end the siege to run away.
I mean, in their defense, I think most of the time when you sever an arm at the shoulder, you assume that like the Grendel's not going to go to like a doctor. There's no like emergency room nearby to fix it. You would think, yeah, that motherfucker's going to die.
But Beowulf keeps healing and he keeps saying, I'm like you. Give him a tip, Beowulf. Guys, I saw him run off. He just groaned a little bit. Let's not party yet.
I love your Home Alone reference, though, because traps really are your friend in this sort of a scenario. This thing hunts people. It's invisible. It's armored. But you can see, based on the fight that Beowulf has with it, it can be restrained. So this is a perfect setup in my book for an effective trap. Now, I didn't go to Sapper leadership school or anything, but maybe set up a trap for this guy. And I'm not talking about standing in a pool of water with your back to the enemy, visibly unarmed, and then just like trading punches with Grendel. Fuck him up.
No, we know from Friday the 13th, you don't split up. Everyone here splits up. Like, hey, I'm going to go check for the weapons alone by myself. I'm going to go down this hall alone where 90% of people die.
In their defense, when they try to put everybody in a room, that doesn't work out as well.
No, and I thought we were going to get a trap, Gene, where Beowulf does the hooks under the arm.
Yeah.
He's got all these MacGyver tricks. Why not set up? I would have loved it, Gene. So they get him. They hang him up there. Everyone realizes he can bleed. We can kill it. They don't do it.
Everybody dress up as Hrothgar. Be like a Three Amigos thing. Like, oh, shit, he's everywhere. Not any of you.
Yeah.
I leave now.
Make it like one of those like Halloween costume for conjoined twins. So like the monster can't see where Hrothgar begins and the other person ends. And you have 4 arms fighting them off.
We've been doing this podcast a long time to where Big D can say, make it like those Halloween costumes for conjoined twins. And I just go with it. Yeah, all those Halloween costumes you see for conjoined twins.
At least I didn't say Siamese twins. I knew better than that.
I don't think that's like a bestseller at Spirit Halloween.
But it exists. It exists.
Well, Kyra discloses her romantic feelings to Beowulf, and they have sex. Beowulf reveals to Kyra that he is half human and able to suppress his inner evil by battling evil. He senses the succubus and rushes to find her. Kyra and Hrothgar return to the dining hall to find everyone dead, including Roland. They encounter the succubus, who reveals herself to be Grendel's mother and Hrothgar as its father, hence why Grendel had spared him before. Hrothgar's unfaithfulness led to his wife's suicide.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about Roland here. He's the guy I mentioned early on that wears this uncomfortably phallic codpiece with a long leather shaft and a metal shiny tip. They set him up to be the asshole of the movie. He is the Jaime Lannister. He is the alpha fighter who's left of the 40 men in this castle. He is cocky, but he is a competent leader. He's skilled in battle. He's fearless. He beats the shit out of everybody else who's there. He beats up dudes with swords with his bare hands. But his weakness is he loves Kyra. Those breasts are on full display. He's in love. He openly pines for her. It's uncomfortable to watch him like a puppy dog. He declares his love for her. He's like, I've always loved you. And she's like, I know. And she walks away. And he looks douchey. Think Euro like DJ. He's Tiesto. Physically, he looks like Tiesto with a codpiece and a leather outfit.
True.
And when he declares his love, she just blows him off. He lays his life down. He dies defending her, and the best she can do. He's ultimately in the friend zone forever. She comes out and goes, "Oh, my friend is dead," and just leaves.
Okay. Lest the audience think Roland died a hero, he did fuck a succubus without knowing where she came from or what she was there to do. As a general rule, if a naked lady magically appears in your sealed off fort and wants to fuck you for no reason, even though you ask her, where did you come from and what is your reason, she's probably dangerous. I was fully expecting Roland to declare, "I love Kyra, now eat my cold steel, you traveling bitch." It was a real letdown.
The only one who knows how to deal with a situation like this is Conan.
Yes.
When he kicks that witch into the flu, gets a flu network, shoots her up, and then he just straight up goes to sleep. Conan knows. Conan knows. And early on, I mentioned that Beowulf, he's got a proclivity for like doing flips needlessly. And he does them in the middle of like just battles. He's like walking through the courtyard. It seems like he'll flip. But that's just an appetizer, Gene. We get the main course here in the final battle. I counted no less than 26 flips. I'm sure there's more because I don't have an ultra high def TV yet. Some were doubles, some were triples, some were onto tables, some were off, some were on flat ground. There's a part where he does like a kid's trampoline park, where it's like almost like a floor exercise in the Olympics, where he does about 9 or 10 consecutive flips. Yeah, it looks cool, but it's ludicrous. When he stands up, he's going to be dizzy. How is he going to fight a succubus? He's now dizzy.
Does it look cool? It looks about as cool as like Rodney Dangerfield in Back to School. I don't think flips look particularly cool, and there is no tactical advantage to that. There's no reason why you would be doing a flip.
Yeah, you could confuse the succubus. The succubus is like, what the hell is this person doing? What is this magic? What is this magic you are bestowing upon me?
Honestly, Big D, the action is the movie's biggest flaw. Like, you don't have to have fantastic action to be a fantasy film. And the best example I can offer is Game of Thrones. Yes, there are some over-the-top moments. There are elements of beyond belief action in Game of Thrones, but most of it, the vast majority of it, and I think that's what we appreciated about that series, it's exciting while being very grounded. It's things that could happen. And if a series can make Kit Harington look like a warrior, a movie, a full budget Hollywood movie, can make Christopher Lambert's fighting at least look believable. You don't need all those flips.
But he's like 65 years old.
He was 42 when they made this movie.
Shut up. Don't even say that.
Yeah, he was born in 1957.
So, like I'm telling you, when we're on the streets of New Orleans, people were looking at me like I was Christopher Lambert. I'm an old fucking man now.
No, they're looking at you like you were the Sutter homie.
Oh, the Sutter homie. God. 42?
Yeah.
Shit.
That's coincidentally how many tiny bottles of wine Big D drank during my bachelor party. I have photos. You just live it. It's like Hansel and Gretel. You could follow the empty bottles of Sutter and find you. Greeno Pigio forever. Hrothgar attempts to kill the succubus, but is killed by Grendel. Beowulf arrives and kills the beast. Grendel's mother attempts to appeal to Beowulf's inner evil, but she fails and transforms into a giant humanoid spider-like creature. After Beowulf defeats her, their battle forces the outpost to collapse on itself. Beowulf and Kyra escape, and she convinces him to let her accompany him on his journeys. Big D, for the first 2/3 of this movie, I kept telling myself Christopher Lambert was Beowulf's weakest link. You got Kyra out there being sexy, Roland's being tough, Hrothgar is being Patrick Stewart, and then there's goofy ass Christopher Lambert. He's stumbling through his lines with that thick accent. He's unable to pull off simple stunts. He looks, with that haircut and like the bleached blonde platinum hair, he looks like he hit his head as a child and never quite recovered. And so I started thinking of actors who could make this a one-white movie with their charm, right? Imagine a Beowulf with a Jason Statham, a Val Kilmer, maybe even an Ethan Hawke. But by the end of this movie, I realized that Christopher Lambert, he's perfect as Beowulf because this character, he's not a normal person. he doesn't understand how to execute a joke, as Lambert does not understand how to execute a joke. He'll always do this thing where he'll be like, not quite, eh?
Yes, exactly.
He doesn't know how to interact with a woman. He is just a warped killing machine who occasionally interacts with humans and often ends up butchering them. Christopher Lambert is that man.
You're right. This is the perfect casting. I want to come with you. I don't know where I'm going. Oh, it's okay. Okay, I guess we don't know where we're going together. Yes, it's perfect. You don't need charisma. You stumble around life as an actor learning English on the set of Highlander. It's him. He was born for this.
And there were points where it said in the captioning, Beowulf laughs, Kyra laughs. I was like, is he laughing? Is that the noise that's coming out of him? I think it's a laugh. And I don't normally like to bring the movie's budget into consideration, but I was shocked when I discovered that Beowulf was made for just $3 million.
Yes.
That's insane. Today's adventure films generally cost about $76 million for like an average one, right? And the cast of Beowulf, they were told, we're going to do this $25 million action movie with Christopher Lambert. And when they signed on, they were whisked away to film on location in Romania, which Rhona Mitra, who plays Kyra, described as a hellhole. Still, an impressive film with such a skinny budget.
Yeah, it's because Romania is a hellhole. It was perfect. It was a perfect setting. That's why it looks so realistic. And I think, Gene, maybe they treated this like a BYOC, like bring your own costume. Like they put out the word, hey, anybody out there with a cool post-apocalyptic Road Warrior Mad Max costume, you're 25 to 35, fit, modern haircut, show up, you could be in the film. Because that's incredible. $3 million.
And again, for reference, right, we should talk about Mortal Kombat Annihilation, which we've done and absolutely shat on. That was $30 million. So we're talking a factor of 10 on this budget.
That has to factor into the wipe score here.
I think we've often counted against a movie, right? When we said, hey, you had like Crawl, you had such a huge budget. How did you fail to produce? In this case, I don't know if we should feel bad for it, but I would say that this does not look to me like a $3 million movie. Aside from the opening credits, this looks like it could definitely be a $20 million, $25 million.
Let's just say hypothetically, if like you had a heavier set member of your family, like a nephew or something, right?
Sure.
And he goes out there and he joins the track team, goes out there, and you're like, ooh, this is going to be bad. But he finishes 4th out of 8. It's not great, but you're like, wow, that was better than I thought.
Yeah, but the difference is, would we tell thousands of listeners to go watch him run? They probably would.
Yeah, we probably would.
Now's the time in the podcast to give our Shat score for Beowulf. The Shat score is our way of telling you how many wipes this movie takes to get off your respective butts. 0 wipes is a perfect movie. It is landing sci-fi role after sci-fi role when you have the acting skills of Christopher Lambert. And 5 wipes is an absolute disaster of a film. It is getting to fuck a knockoff Britney Spears, but being asleep the whole time. Big D, I'll start with you. What is your wipe score for Beowulf?
This is a hard one, Gene, because it's all about expectations. When you have a high expectation for a film and it disappoints, it always makes it more difficult to watch. What you remember was more painful. You want to kill it more. I came into it thinking this was going to be Mortal Kombat Annihilation, which was one of the hour and a half in my life that I would love to get back when I'm on my deathbed. I'll be thinking about what could I have done with that hour and a half of my life. I thought this was going to be that experience, but it turned out to be something much more entertaining. But I can't, much like your heavy-set nephew, I can't tell people to go watch him race. This is not a good film, but it's better than it deserves. It's a 3.25 white movie. It's not good. I wouldn't recommend seeing it. But again, there's some people behind this who really tried. Your nephew really tried. They all tried.
Big D, I never like to say that I dreaded a movie because I do want to give proper consideration and respect to every commission that we receive. But while traveling to the bachelor party and then traveling back to Arizona, I had 2 movies that I downloaded to watch with the King Bee on the flights. One of them was this, one of them was Airplane. And I got to say, we jumped over this and went to Airplane, only mainly because I didn't want to hear him complain about it, but also because I wanted to make sure that I could give this movie a sober, impartial viewing and not skew it by being a drunk asshole while watching the movie. And I've got to say that I was surprised, and I can't give credit to Emmet because Emmet hasn't seen this movie. So I just have to say that we got really, really lucky here. There are these movies that occasionally come in through Shat that we don't expect to be that good, and they end up blowing our minds. And for this one, I expected something akin to Willow or Mortal Kombat Annihilation, somewhere in the 4 wipe range. And I have to say that I found this movie to be above average. When you take the action elements out of this movie, it's very entertaining. It's just a goofy ass good time. And Christopher Lambert, I think this might be his best other than The Highlander, possibly.
And Gene, I think if you made the one simple change of the soundtrack, I think the whole perception and experience of this film would change. And Rotten Tomatoes, a 0 for this, that's terrible. Should be embarrassed.
So I'm giving it 2 wipes. Big D is giving it 3.25 wipes. That gives us an average wipe score of 2.625 wipes for Beowulf.
So, Gene, wow, that now puts us in the 190 spot. It is slightly worse than Weekend at Bernie's, The Fifth Element, and The Full Monty. Slightly better than Adventures in Babysitting, Father of the Bride. That's just wrong. And Pretty Woman.
Your love for Father of the Bride is noted, Big D, and I'm very disappointed in you. Speaking of Weekend at Bernie's, we have a great voicemail this week from listener Mike.
Good morning, Shat crew. Dick, Gene, Ash, King B, wherever he may be, Carrie, wherever she may be, and even Roger. Just a quick message at the moment. I am reminded of something as we draw nearer to summer, and I just wanted to say to Big D especially, some like it hot, do 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 do. Some like it cool, do 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 do. Some like it hot, do 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 do. And that's all.
What the heck?
Apparently, I wasn't on the Weekend at Bernie's pod, but apparently you have a strange love for that song.
I think it was, my memory, again, going back, I think it was Carrie Gross, Roger, and I did it. Roger loved it. I do not remember what, again, I know that the song plays, they do like a conga line within it. And I think Roger loved it. I think Roger also loves Jimmy Buffett. I think I was probably riffing on that. I don't remember liking it.
I think we've hit the point in the podcast just over the years that we've been doing it now where there are inside jokes that we're not even a part of. So thanks, Mike, for your voicemail, and please call in again. Next up, we have a voicemail for me. This one comes from LW.
Hey, I'm calling to humbly disagree about Gene's ROTC memories. Because, like beyond them being just really entertaining, like I need them because they keep me out of a real dark place. You see, a few months before I went into high school, they ended my JROTC program. I was lost. I didn't know what to do. I was totally convinced that I was going to sign up and learn all the things and do all the cool activities. I mean, mostly I was there for the rappelling and the climbing wall, but still, that was my dream. I wanted so bad. Gene, you're an effing rock star. You're like a hero to me. You got to live what I only got to dream about. Every time you start talking about your JROTC days, like the Foo Fighters, There Goes My Hero, just kicks on in my brain automatically. Like, I need those stories, man, because I never got to do them. I never got to live them. And if you put those stories to rest, then my almost dreams will never come true. Gene, and Big D too, I would salute you, but I never got taught how. Gene, I just want you to remember, you are the alpha ascot, and don't ever forget that.
Okay, I'm sitting here. That's the Top Gun theme he's listening to.
Oh, is that what that was in the background?
I'm not an audio expert from Tango and Cash. I'm not able to really analyze, but it sounded like that to me.
LW, I feel like when my final days come along and I just realize that I'm too old for this podcasting game and I've given all I can of this world and the pain in my joints is just excruciating and my mind is failing me and the sun is starting to set on this lifetime that was Gene Lyons. I feel like I'm going to put on my Air Force mess dress and they're just going to find me with this voicemail playing as I'm in my rocking chair overlooking the Arizona sunset and fading into oblivion. So thank you so much for the kind words.
And everybody out there who got on Gene, remember, everyone has their own personal Vietnam.
Wow.
I'm completely fine with you continuing to tell the tale because you deserve it. I'm proud of you.
Thank you, Big D, and thank you, LW. Next up, we have an email from Vinny, and it is not film related. He says, a couple of personal things I wanted to say. First, Gene, hope your stag party was everything you hoped it would be, and good luck on your forthcoming wedding. May you have a long, happy marriage and wish you both nothing but the best. Secondly, I listened to the Return to Oz cast today. Thank you for the response. But unfortunately, I don't have that well-spoken English accent you love so much. I have a much more common accent, which is very deep. Thirdly, I hope all is well with Ash. I miss her, and I'm getting concerned that all is not well in one way or another. I'll leave it there. I do have the next subject lined up for you guys. From the actually very sunny and hot southeast of England, Vinny. Yeah, so Vinny, thanks for writing in. We had a great time down in New Orleans. It was wonderful. I've got to find a way to package up all the footage of Big D being at his Big D-est because one of the things we had to do is get a very large van. I don't know what the equivalent is in the UK if you have these, but it was we had a Dodge Grand Caravan.
It's a lorry. It's a lorry.
It's a lorry, yeah. So Big D was in the back bench seat, and his legs were extending essentially into the front row. We had a cooler for him to rest his legs on, and we were just pounding the beers everywhere we went. It was really, really great to see the people of Mississippi and New Orleans just marvel at this giant among them. But also, it was a great time to connect with everybody. And we will have on a future episode our full thank you to everybody who contributed to the trip. It was very, very generous of all of you, and it certainly helped out. Every drink that we enjoyed was a testament to the love from the Shat community, and we can't thank you enough.
I told Gene before we recorded, I thanked him for the experience because if you've listened to the podcast long enough, you know Gene is eccentric. Gene likes specific things. He goes and finds the off the beaten path, not the normal places people would go. He's a bit eccentric. So I was thankful because New Orleans, if you know every little hole in the wall, where to get the best po' boy, where to go get the Jameson's iced coffee, where to go find a milkshake in Mississippi, Gene is your man. And all the places, best jazz music, fun. There was no fights. We met a lot of really cool people. Hopefully some new listeners out there. A nice couple from Australia, a nice couple from Swedish bachelor party. We had a fun time with them. I created a superhero like group with a bunch of guys I found who were all almost 7 feet tall. I was the shortest in the group. We banded together like superheroes. And for the people who know, I've been dieting on a journey for the last year. In 4 days with Gene Lyons, drinking Pinot Grigio, tons of Jameson, tons of wine, and eating nothing but salty New Orleans food, I gained 24.8 pounds. And if you're saying, that's impossible, how could you do it? Yes, I lost 22 of it over the next 2 days. It's water weight from the salt and everything. But I was bloated and brain dead for 4 days upon returning. So Gene took at least 6 months off my life.
You're welcome. And thank you, Vinny, for writing in. Finally, we have an email from Andrew. He said, hey, hosts, I wanted to send my appreciation for the numerous amount of car rides that y'all have accompanied with me. I stumbled upon the podcast around the middle of COVID. The first episode I listened to was the review of Scarface. I recently saw the movie and was hoping someone would bring up the incredibly awkward scene toward the end with Tony and his sister. To my delight, the elephant in the room was brought up. You guys are the reason I look forward to Wednesdays, and when Wednesday passes, best believe I revisit a past episode or two. I look up to you three. I see y'all as my own family and friends. I adore Gene's wholesome personality, Big D's interesting film facts, and Ash's pure honesty that she brings to the table. Hopefully one day I'll be able to meet you guys and get a nugget of wisdom from you three. Cheers, Uncle Gene, Uncle D, and Aunt Ash. Please keep doing what y'all are doing. We all adore your company. P.S. I know age is sometimes a surprising factor. I'm currently 26, and I found the podcast when I was 23. So please know that y'all are reaching a lot of different age groups. Also, have any of you seen Summer Rental with John Candy? I feel like it's one of his lesser known films, and to me, it's not all that great. However, I love John Candy so much that I got suckered into watching it once a month. I'll definitely have to commission it one day. Hope this finds y'all well. Andrew.
Didn't we do Summer Rental?
We did The Great Outdoors.
Summer Rental. It sounds familiar.
Summer Rental was a Carl Reiner film.
Oh.
In which an air traffic controller loses a plane and is told to take a break. So he books his family into a plush resort, but it turns out that their lodgings are in a hut by the beach, and that's as good as the vacation gets. So it's basically The Great Outdoors, but on the beach.
With Uncle Buck, because he's wearing like a Blackhawks jersey, and it looks like the buffoon role that Candy would play a lot. So it's Uncle Buck on the beach. Translation, that's perfect for us.
And Andrew, thank you so much for letting us know your age, because now I was like, why is he calling me Uncle Gene? But yeah, you're actually the same age as my niece, so I could be your Uncle Gene. So I'm glad to know Big D's hypothesis is correct. There are younger people getting life lessons from us. I hope we don't steer you in the wrong direction.
I hope so too. I don't want to end up hurting anyone. We're here for fun purposes. And Gene, I think as much fun as we had this week and everybody like kind of playing along with us, maybe one day I would love to take another trip with you and to a location and put it out there. And if people wanted to join us, because if I was going to find another travel guide to get a guaranteed fun adventure, it would be Gene Lyons.
All right, too kind. I did actually ask on our Discord, which, by the way, if you guys haven't joined, we are actively trying to get that Discord up and running again. The King Bee kind of killed it for a while by being very, very mean to people. And I've since reached out and apologized to those people. We're trying to start up a kinder, gentler Discord where we can support each other on our fitness journeys, talk about movies, talk about gaming, and just have a good time. Especially with the Premier League being out of season right now, I need all of the sports talk I can get. I did ask in the group if we were to have a ShatCon bar crawl and movie watch party complete with a live episode recording, what city people would want to see it in. The majority of the people said Phoenix. I was surprised by that. And by majority, I mean 3 people. 1 vote for Chicago, 1 vote for New Orleans, 1 vote for Las Vegas, 0 Big D for Orlando. Also, London, Melbourne, and Los Angeles had 0s too. So get in there and vote. Go to the shatpod.com/Discord. Get in the Discord, hang out with us. It's like social media, but everybody's actually pretty cool. And with that, Big D, what do we have coming up next week?
Gene, next week, this spoof comedy takes shots at a slew of disaster movies that were released in the 70s when the passengers and crew of a jet airliner are incapacitated due to food poisoning. A rogue pilot with a drinking problem must cooperate with his ex-girlfriend turned stewardess to bring the plane down safely. Commissioned by Kristen S. And this is an iconic film. You see the poster, you see the trailer, the lines. It's old, so I hope everybody's alive who remembers it. And the world is very different back then, but this was a comedy that set the bar for everyone following it since for me.
Well, thank you, Kiki, for the upcoming commission. Thank you, Emmet in Orange, for commissioning Beowulf. Thank you to all of the commissioners who make this podcast possible. That concludes this week's episode of Shat The Movies. Be sure to follow us on social media and share with a friend. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram at Shat The Movies. You can email us, host@shatthemovies.com. Support the podcast by shopping our Amazon affiliate link, buying our merch, or by commissioning your own movie. Find all information by visiting our website, shatpod.com. Also, check out our sister podcast, Shat on TV. We review TV series such as Lovecraft Country, Westworld, True Detective, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, and Watchmen. Find all that information on our website, shatpod.com/TV, wherever fine podcasts can be found, including Apple Podcasts. And our rating just went up to 4.5 stars. So thank you, listeners, for being so kind. Woo. Google Play, Stitcher, and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe. And if you stop by Apple Podcasts, please leave a 5-star review. It helps the podcast grow. On behalf of my co-hosts, Big D and Ash, I'm Gene Lyons. Join us next week for the following movie.
Stand by for the most extraordinary chain of events ever swept up into high adventure.
Hey, Larry, where's the forklift? Forklift! It's over there with the baggage loader.
Airplane is drama.
This is Dr. Brody at the Mayo Clinic. There's a passenger on your Chicago Flight 209, a little girl named Lisa Davis, en route to Minneapolis. She's scheduled for a heart transplant. I want you to make sure that she's kept in a reclined position. and that a continuous watch is kept on her IV.
Airplane is action. Airplane is romance.
I love you, Elaine.
I love you.
Airplane is music.
There is only one river, there is only one sea.
Airplane is dance. Has the screen been so big?
You ever been in a cockpit before?
No, sir, I've never been up in a plane before.
Peter Graves.
You ever seen a grown man naked?
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
My name is Roger Murdoch. I'm an airline pilot.
Leslie Nielsen.
This woman has to be gotten to a hospital.
A hospital? What is it?
It's a big building with patients, but that's not important right now.
Lloyd Bridges.
Johnny, what can you make out of this?
This? Well, I could make a cap, or a brooch, or pterodactyl.
Robert Stack.
All right, Steve, let's face a few facts.
And we hope you enjoy the rest of your flight.
Julie Haggerty.
By the way, is there anyone on board who knows how to fly a plane?
Can you fly this plane and land it?
Robert Hayes.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
I've got to get out of here. I've got to get out of here. Down, get a hold of yourself.
Please, let me handle this.
I've got to get
Calm down. Now get back to your seat. I'll take care of this. Calm down. Calm down. Get a hold of yourself.
Doctor, you're one on the phone. Everything's been all right.
Sister, please, I'll handle this.
Mayday! Mayday!
All right, now everybody, get in crash positions.
The most incredible adventure the screen has ever created.
He's coming right at us!
The big news is Airplane.